Welcome to the What Are We Doing Phillies podcast, interview series. Today's guest is Robert Culp. He's a social studies teacher who teaches the popular class War and Sports. He's also the freshman football coach.
Doesn't it feel great to be back-to-back weeks, and I can actually do this in order and not have someone cancel on me and run into problems? And now we're going good and starting to get this pattern. Next week might be kind of iffy because Thanksgiving comes up, but the following week we'll have Mr. Mullally on. But for now, we've got Mr. Culp on, as we heard in our intro.
Hi, Kevin. I am glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I put in the intro, one of the things that is interesting for this is you teach the War and Sports class here at the high school.
I have. It's been close to a 20-year run on that. It was originally just a war class that we sold as a new elective class for young men. And just recently, not too recently, but we added sports to it when it became a full semester course. We used to have some 0.5s that were 9-week courses here some years ago, and now we're just semester courses. So War and Sports, and it's rolling hard. Yeah, we get 4 sections of it at least every year, and a lot of kids get turned away because they don't sign up fast enough for it.
Yeah, I didn't get it till my senior year, and now I have you as a teacher and now doing this now. So one of the things that I thought you would be probably profound at is talking about some of the older players and like different players, because I don't know them as well. Like the Hall of Fame ballot came out yesterday.
I heard.
And different players came out onto that Hall of Fame ballot. And, of course, new former Philly on the list, Cole Hamels, finally makes it onto that list. Does he make the Hall of Fame? Is he a Hall of Fame caliber?
I wasn't sure if we were saving that for later, but
no.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm jumping in with that to start here.
Yeah, that's great. Listen, I watched Cole's entire career, and he had some great Phillies moments, right? He was a World Series MVP. Helped us win our first championship, I think, since the 1980. He was on that championship squad. Like, he was an integral part of a great team, a very memorable team. But, I am, as you say, I'm a little bit of a dinosaur with baseball, right? My dad was born in the 1920s, right? My dad saw Babe Ruth play. He doesn't have a Hall of Fame resume to me. He was a very good player, but he's not a great player. I think the highest he ever finished in the Cy Young voting was 5th one year, was the highest. Like, there's nothing stand-outish about his entire career. He struck a lot of guys out over a good long career. Had some great moments, had some great Phillies games, great seasons, but not Hall of Fame caliber in my book. Like, I grew up with Steve Carlton, so he can't compare.
So would you agree, and this is where I think with the Hall of Fame we're at, is I don't think they know, or people know, who is the high caliber player to go in the Hall of Fame and who's just under that line. I feel like there's a line here of these, like, we have these great players we know are going to be in the Hall of Fame when they end their career, Ohtani and Aaron Judge. 2 of them are going to be the first ballot Hall of Famers. There's also these other players that get on that Hall of Fame ballot because they have okay numbers, but probably shouldn't have a chance to actually be represented in the Hall of Fame.
Agreed. And look, you said it well. I will say that the Hall of Fame in the last 20 years, the voting has probably allowed some players to make the Hall of Fame that my dad's generation would have never thought they'd make the Hall of Fame. But it's so rare now. There may never be, probably will never be, another 300-game winner in baseball, where that used to be kind of an automatic. If you won 300 games or got 3,000 strikeouts, you were an automatic to get into the Hall of Fame. But guys can't get to those numbers now.
Guys don't focus on wins either.
Right.
That number's almost not relevant for players at this point.
Right. To get 200 wins now in a career is like considered great today. And there's just, you can't get to some of those numbers that some of the older guys were able to attain. And so there does have to be like a new criteria. Is 450 home runs for a hitter? Is that automatic? If someone wins 250 wins, is that automatic? I don't have Cole Hamels' all-time record in front of me. But
neither do I.
Again, he was a very good player. I think he made the All-Star team like 3 or 4 times, but Steve Carlton probably made the All-Star team like 15, 16 times. Some of these guys, Mike Schmidt, made it every year. He was in the All-Star game every year he played. So those, like you said, Ohtani, they're like automatic guys. They'll be first ballot guys. We'll see. I mean, Chase Utley's gotten a little bit of a rise the last couple of years. This is his 3rd year, I think, on the ballot.
So who's a better player, Jimmy Rollins or Chase Utley for Hall of Fame?
That's a tough question.
Level, because they're both on the Hall of Fame ballot.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting question. I did not watch either of them play when I cared about the Phillies. If they were past my earliness of time of watching them, I was born, just wasn't watching baseball. Probably wasn't watching anything. But
I got to tell you, that's tough. And I don't want to take the coward way out here on your podcast and say, like, to me, I mean, Rollins, his speed, he had another element, offensively and defensively, because of his speed. People forget, like, how good of a shortstop he was. I mean, I like Trey Turner, but he is not a very good defensive shortstop.
I didn't notice he was a switch hitter.
Absolutely.
For a while, it took me until a few years ago to notice that he was a switch hitter, because I got and use him in my MLB The Show video game, and I use him as a switch hitter. I'm like, oh, like, okay. I always want the Phils to have a good switch hitting player on their team, and of course it was right before I started really paying attention.
He seemed to be so clutch. He was just a terrific defensive player. He was exciting offensively because of his speed. He could steal bases. I mean, sometimes if he walked, that might have been as good as a double. At the same time, Utley was as good defensive player, but Utley was a good defensive player. Like, they were a great middle infield. That's why these guys won a championship. And Utley, I feel like, was just clutch moments. But I guess for a career, I guess have to give Rollins the edge there as just slightly better. And I mean, just slightly better overall, all things considered.
So who was your favorite player to watch? Who was your favorite player when you're growing up, or it doesn't have to be a Phillies player. It could be anybody.
It wasn't a Phillies player, so I'll tell you that story.
Yeah.
Listen, my dad, who, he was born in Pennsylvania, he was born in, coal mining region of Pottsville, PA. And you would think, all right, he's going to be a Phillies fan or a Pirates fan, but he was a big Red Sox guy. He loved Ted Williams. My father loved Ted Williams. And I was at Yankee Stadium 3 times as a young boy, my brother and I, my dad, who didn't really like trips very much, didn't like go on vacations. But he did take my brother and I to Yankee Stadium because that was close enough where we could watch the Red Sox play. And even though Ted Williams had retired and probably even passed away by the time I was going to these games in Yankee Stadium, he still liked the Red Sox. If it wasn't the Phillies, the Red Sox were his American League team. He grew up with the Athletics way back when. But I grew up loving the Red Sox as well. When I was a little kid, I liked the Red Sox a lot. And so Carl Yastrzemski, who took over left field for Ted Williams and became a Hall of Fame player himself, Carl Yastrzemski was one of my favorite players. And I actually have a picture with him in the room. When you come up to the classroom tomorrow, you have to check it out. But I met him in spring training. And I liked the Phillies, but I loved Carl Yastrzemski and I loved the Red Sox. I just loved that team. And luckily my dad, didn't ban me. He didn't curse me. Kids at school did, for sure. If I wore my Red Sox stuff, I get beat up, but everybody had jeers on me and comments about this, and I was supposed to go to a Catholic school and people said a lot of negative things about me. But
it's like when someone walks in here with a Chiefs jersey or something.
Ooh, yeah,
I've seen that a few times in the building. I'm like, can we not?
So yeah, he was definitely my favorite player. But we went to a lot of Phillies games. We always used to go down on Sundays. We'd park at my aunt's house. She lived right near the subway. We would walk to the subway, take it down South Street, get out at the stadium. And I'll tell you what, we were lucky enough to watch Carlton pitch. Very often it seemed like they saved him to pitch on Sundays. But that was just a treat and a half. A treat and a half to watch one of the greatest ever pitch. Just super stuff.
Is that does that kind of go along with one of your favorite baseball memories?
Or they played at Veteran Stadium, right, which was completely different than Central Citizens Bank Park.
Yes, that place is.
And my dad, we didn't have a lot of money, so whenever we could get into the ball games, we were up in the 700 level, and I was a little afraid of heights, to be honest with you.
Might be one of the more entertaining levels.
But one of my funniest, favorite memories is when we were at the Phillies game. They were playing the Houston Astros, who were also very good when I was young, and a guy named Jose Cruz was hitting, and it just so happens I always remember Jose Cruz because he was born on August 8th, the same day I was born.
Oh, that's cool.
And I was walking along the rail, you could see the bullpens below you, and Jose Cruz hit a home run that I could just barely. I reached out as far as I could. It was within a foot of my hand. It went down to the bullpen, and I'm forgetting the pitcher that was down there in the bullpen, and I was a little kid. And I'm like, hey, can you throw that up to me? I think it might have been Ron Reed. And he just kind of looked at me, and he just dropped the ball on the ground. I didn't even attempt to throw it up to me. I was like, you got to be kidding me. And that's one of the other than being a Phillies fan and cheering, great teams winning games down there with my dad and my brother, and being scared of heights from where the seats we used to sit back as far as I could in my seat. But that memory kind of sticks out to me. I'm like, I couldn't believe, I'm pretty sure it was Rob Reed. It's been so long now, but he wouldn't throw me the friggin' ball. I'm like, come on, man. You got 1,000 of those things. I'm a little kid. So
that's a good one.
I digress.
That's a good one. It's always interesting to hear someone's baseball story. I've been to a few games, and I've actually never been to. I've been to a lot of extra inning games that ended with a Castellanos double to the gap, and those are always. I'm like, why I always end up at the games with the most random guy getting the most random hit. So I will always remember memories. One of my key things that people always say, how do you do this? So I've been doing these podcasts for such a long time at this point, and because to do each podcast, I watch the game. And I've watched so many games where someone can tell me a specific week of the year, and I can tell you 2 or 3 games that happened on that week and what happened in those games. Because of, one of my favorite memories is when the Phils played the London series. They came back and they played the Diamondbacks. I think it was the week after or something. And they played the Diamondbacks, and they looked awful. And I'm like, can we please turn this around? They went on the road. They won those 11 straight games, came back home, lost again. And you're like, what's going on here? Can we win at home, please? I even have a Pablo Sandoval moment. I remember when he was on the Braves. He was on the Braves towards the end of his career.
Yes.
And I was up. Giant. I was up. It was a Sunday night. It was a Saturday night game. I was waiting. SNL was coming on, and the Phillies were on NBC that night. And I was getting ready. I was going to watch the Phillies game, record the podcast, and then I was going to watch SNL because I enjoy watching that. And we got to the point where the game went so far into extra innings where they had to move the Phillies game onto the normal regional broadcast so SNL could play. Because it was before the pitch clock time, and they were going on with the 11th, and went 11 or 12 innings, and they lost because Pablo Sandoval hit 2 3-run home runs, one as a pinch hit and one to win the game.
You know what? Now that you say that, I just vaguely remember that.
And I just remember sitting there. I'm like, of all guys, this random guy who was good years ago is in front of me, and he's hitting home runs, and he doesn't even look like he's in any bit in baseball shape at all.
No, he was not. But he could still tattoo a ball, right?
He couldn't run. I was watching him run. I'm like, just keep it in the yard, and he wouldn't be able to run.
But yeah, they bumped it because Saturday Night Live got better ratings, and they bumped it down to another station.
Bumped it down to another station. I just remember having to change a station. Like, if they lose this game, this is not worth following for this long.
I guess anybody, even if you're non-sports, you have memories of plays or musicals, and there's no doubt. And it sounds like you're going to be wired like this for the rest of your life, where sports is going to be kind of your outlet and what you're wired into, and this will provide memory. And listen, sports has been very good to me, luckily. Knock on wood, and I can still play a little bit. But it's been a great thing for me as a person, as an outlet for physicality of different games. So now it's good that you're doing this. It's Why did you get into podcast in the first place? What was the reason for the first podcast?
So I watched the Phils and I watched them. I think it was the year before, and I wanted to do radio stuff in my life. I had an idea. I wanted to do like talk radio or talking and speaking to people. So me and my mom kind of came up with an idea of, why not you record your thoughts on the Phillies game. The first podcast I ever recorded was a recording of me reacting to the Super Bowl Eagles loss against the Chiefs. It was the first one I ever recorded. I don't know as much
moment.
I don't know as much about football as I know about baseball. I remember sitting in the back room and I'm on the ground. I'm recording this and I'm just prepping for baseball and whatever, and spring training came around and then I just kept kind of going with that, and eventually it got, like, right now I think it's getting in between the podcast itself. The highest views I got was like 50 something on one of them, and I think these middle of the range, I'm very happy when I get like 35 views an episode, because I know the 5 or 10 people that I know family-wise and friends, but I don't know who else wants to listen to it. It always makes me fascinated. I'm like, someone gets to hear my opinion, and
you know
someone might like it.
All those guys on the radio now, they all started somewhere. They all started somewhere small. And you know about Mr. Coletta, right?
I don't know him really at all.
The Phillies broadcaster Murphy, right? He does
Greg Murphy?
Greg Murphy does radio, and sometimes he'll do TV.
He did radio. I think he got fired. He got let go from NBC Sports Philadelphia. That's why he does radio now.
Yep. He was Mr. Coletta's roommate at St. Joe's.
Oh, really?
Yep. And so I'm sure he has like a story about, I don't know if it would have been high school where he would have done like some broadcasts of some sports games, or it started at St. Joe's. Something tells me it probably started in high school. But, everybody, there's no way you don't get born onto WMPV. You don't get born onto 1210. Yeah. And
you got to build up your profile somehow.
That's right, and you're doing it here. It's great.
So with that being said, talked about a lot of other things. Now, like Phillies wise, number one, free agency update, which I'll do periodically for anyone listening to these all the time. You'll see the free agents update where we put down different players that might not have ever pertained to going to the Phillies, but Josh Naylor signed a 5-year deal with the Mariners for $92.5 million. There's a full no-trade clause in this contract for him. Josh Naylor played majority of his career so far with the Guardians, the most recognizable part of his career with the Cleveland Guardians, and then went to the Diamondbacks last year. I think when Diamondbacks, and then the Diamondbacks traded him off to the Mariners, who then came within one extra swing of getting past Game 7 and into the World Series. And it was also on the bat of Josh Naylor, who played very well and has been a very good, consistent hitting first baseman. So good to see him going back to Seattle. They need more power, and they're going to lose some guys because a lot of trade deadline deals helped them get to said point with the offense, because the Mariners have never had the greatest offense of all time. That was an option of the Nationals signing and some other people. It was never a Phillies guy that they were ever going to look at, but it's nice to know all the good bats just stay away out of the division.
I believe the Mariners will be back. They won't be this 1 or 2 year flash in the pan. They've got enough talent to compete. Both sides. Hey, look, they've got Cal Raleigh too, right? So
fantasy legend for me.
With baseball expanding the playoffs, like a lot of sports are doing to sell more tickets and extend the season, it just gives more teams opportunity. So most good teams, especially as good as the Mariners are, they almost can pin themselves in to be a lock, unless they have an unforeseen injury or rash of injuries. But they've got enough talent to make it back. Their
toughest issue is the division they play in. It actually brings me nicely to the Phillies conversation, because the Mariners' toughest problem is they've got the Houston Astros, they've got the Texas Rangers, who are a somewhat decent team. They kind of fell off at the end of last year. You have the A's building a young core, which is young players that might not be relevant right now, but still building up. And is there one more?
If they can keep them, right? That's the A's thing, right? They do a great job of drafting people and identifying young talent, but payroll limitations kind of keep them from keeping those players. Yeah. Although in the last couple of years they have paid a couple guys.
Yeah, Brent
right?
Rooker, they gave a contract.
Yep,
they had Rookie of the Year winning Nick Kurtz this year.
And maybe the move to Vegas will,
Get
put
more
in some
money.
more money. Yep, and
New CBA coming out maybe will even up the money.
look, that was the team that was originally in Philadelphia. That was the Philadelphia Athletics years ago. My dad would go to Connie Mack Stadium. He didn't live far from it in Philadelphia, and that was his team. Like, he liked the Phillies, but the A's were his team when he was a little kid. And he always loved Ted Williams. Like, I told you about that already. But when the A's left for Kansas City, like, that kind of broke his heart. But he was always loves Philadelphia teams. He was a big college basketball guy. Likes the Eagles. He was always a Philly guy. But yeah, getting back to the Phillies and what you said, I kind of hope, right? And you mentioned some Japanese players.
Yeah, this was my next.
There's a couple
here.
corner infielders that have some big power numbers that personally I would like to see Alec Boehm gone, and I would like to see the left-handed Japanese player Murakami come to the Phillies.
So Murakami, the problem with him is he has so many. I read the Phillies Nation article yesterday. He's got a lot of flaws. He strikes out a ton. His strikeout percentage is very high. He has not very good defense either. He's a big boom or bust type of guy, which the Phils have a lot of that on their team at this point, boom or bust. Now, how much I don't know contract-wise how much he brings in or how much you're allotting if you're trying to bring back other guys. So I think the main question first is really, where would you want to see them go off-season-wise for the Phils? Because then that kind of like we can build in these other players as we keep this going. But I've said very clearly to people, I don't want to see Castellanos here, and I do not really need to see Alec Boehm here, because I think you can, or Alec Boehm, my whole thing, and I've told this to everyone, for you if you haven't listened, I don't mind if you keep him till the deadline, try and get value, and you put Aiden Miller up on the team in the second half, because you're clearly not going to pay him at the end of this year because you have your young replacement there. So if you sign a Alex Bregman, then you probably are going to be trading Aiden Miller unless you're doing something else there, or Miller's playing second base if Stout's not in your future.
Yeah, I'm not a Bregman guy at this point in his career. He's had a great career. He'll be kind of a guy that gets a little bit of a Hall of Fame chat whenever he's done after 5 years. But he's been a very good player. He's won a couple World Series. But and certainly now I think he's over the hill. And I don't want to see Boehm myself. The Phils they have to make some changes. And I agree with you that Castellanos and Boehm would be two guys if I could get rid of and get a couple bags of chips for them. I'm down with that. My understanding of Murakami, I haven't watched him play, but I didn't read the article you did from this morning. But he's like average defense, but his offense,
he's nuts.
It can be, yeah. And again, left-handed, so I'm hoping we re-sign Schwarber.
Wonder if he's one of their options if they don't re-sign Schwarber.
Well, that's right. So
because they still have so many left-handed bats in that lineup and a lot of left-handed swing and miss, which is a problem,
right,
for this team. And right-handed swing and miss.
And look, the other corner guy from Japan, the Okamoto, he's right-handed. He's a little older though. He's 29. But he's a little.
Is he planning on getting posted as well?
I believe so.
Okay.
But Bregman, Okamoto, none of those guys are really slow. And one of my biggest beefs with the Phillies is
they're slow.
Well, it's not that they're slow. I think they're in the top half of stolen bases. If you look at the team standings,
Turner really helps
they're like
them
12th,
there.
I think, in stolen bases.
JT.
Yeah. But their base running stinks. They're terrible base runners. Terrible. And I can't imagine getting another slow guy in the lineup is going to help with the base running. I mean, they just make bad base running decisions, but there's a couple guys that definitely have some speed. I'm hoping they bring Crawford up. Let's just throw that out there. Like, why waste this kid in the minors? Let's not pull another Ryan Howard and not bring a guy up until his high 20s. Let's bring him up. Let's let him play center field. Even if we bring in Blondie Boy. I'm forgetting his name for a quick
Harrison
second.
Bader.
Yeah, Harrison Bader. I like Bader. I like his moxie, but they got to find a way to get Crawford up here. We've got him and Painter are kind of jumping around, but him and Painter have to play on the team.
Yeah, young
next year.
players.
They need a little infusion of young. They need a little bit better base running, and depending on if you bring Schwarber back, if you lose Schwarber, this is a whole different conversation because now you got to,
So now you got to find a new power bat.
Yeah, you got to go find Polar Bear. You got to go sign him.
Yeah. Put him on the team.
Everybody who hates the Mets, you're gonna all of a sudden be wearing a polar bear head on your head when you're in a Phillies game.
Yeah, you might just because you're enemy now doesn't mean he can't be your.
Lenny Dykstra was the perfect example of that.
I have two favorite players in baseball that I don't like rooting for because they're in our division, and it's him and it's. I like watching him, but it's annoying. His Mets aura and all that stuff drives me nuts. And Austin Riley for the Atlanta Braves. Love Austin Riley for some reason.
Well, he's a good player.
He's a good player, but I can't root for him all the time because he kills us.
But he'd be great to have in a Philly uniform, wouldn't he? Oh my
that whole
goodness.
Anyone on Atlanta I would love to just take all their young talent and put it on here. And
everybody wants
they don't run into any. They sign those guys young, and they're always decent. So the outfield's always the conversation for people. I think Marsh is going to be their left fielder. The issue is Marsh struggles against the other lefties. Yeah. Lefties there, and there's dramatic struggle there between there, and
he's very streaky.
He's an okay fielder. He's not the best fielder of all time. He's a pretty good
Agreed.
fielder.
Yeah, he gets the balls in the air. Doesn't have a great arm.
I don't think he's a center. I think he's more of a corner outfielder than a center fielder. I think if you had the choice, Bader's the better center fielder
I think when they brought him up and he was playing in the American League, he was a little bit better of a center fielder. He had a little bit more foot speed. I guess maybe had a little bit of a stronger arm. He seems like he's aging fast, doesn't it?
Yeah.
For a middle-aged guy, or I guess he's technically a young guy, but yeah, it seems like he's been in the league a lot longer than he actually has. So, but I would like Crawford to come up. I want to see him play. I think his speed will help a lot too. I hope he's a good base runner. That drives me crazy. Hopefully he's a good bunter as well. They're teaching him that down there.
Bunting and base running are the most simple things that they figure out every year somehow to get progressively worse.
Yep, I agree.
At those two things every single year. And then you get to the playoffs, and bunting and base running come back to haunt them because they struggle to do that all year.
Couldn't get a couple bunts down. It cost them a couple games, right? Cost them some key runs because they couldn't bunt guys.
Or you make bad decisions on running to second base. Or Harper doesn't really help as the big man in the room and having the most I'm going to do this on the bases and you could tell me not to, and I'm still going to do it anyway.
That again goes back to decision making. I think JT Realmuto, great guy. I love his aggressive attitude, but he's a terrible base runner. He's terrible. He's always getting thrown out at third to make the third out. I don't have enough fingers to tell you how many times last year I saw them make the third out at third, which is a cardinal rule you don't break in baseball. You never make the third out at third base. I sit kids for games as a coach in baseball. If you make you just don't break that rule. And you don't say, "Oh, I thought I could make it. I was sure I could make it." That's never an excuse. You made the third out at third. You broke a rule that you know. So, hey, you're going to sit a couple days.
Yeah,
I just can't tolerate that.
And
they do it all the time.
They really do. And the other thing is the pitching staff was outstanding last year.
Agreed.
For this team, and
did you see the Cy Young voting? We had 3 guys get votes, right?
Yes,
3 guys.
I can't believe that they didn't get Sanchez didn't get a single. That was so. Yeah. It was 30-0 to Skeens, as I made a case, and we talked about it. I talked about it last week with Monero for a while, and we were saying how we think there will be a good amount of people that voted for Sanchez, and there was nobody. And I was a little bit shocked about that because Sanchez pitched well, and the numbers did line up pretty evenly. Skeens wasn't out and completely outplaying him. He's definitely the better pitcher, but I didn't think you would get every single vote for Paul Skeens.
I agree. I don't get to see Skeens enough.
Yeah.
So
The two times it was two
There
times.
was like
one time he pitched here.
There was like
amazing.
just a 2-week period where Sanchez kind of just fell off like his ultra sharp stuff. But I gotta believe that Skeens at some point, like he couldn't have been like
Skeens
at
had
his
one
A
Skeens,
game.
yeah, Skeens had one game against, I think it was the Dodgers. He allowed 8 runs or something.
Okay, yeah, like
And blew up. I do remember watching the Skeens Mick Abel game that they had here over in the
he was
summer, and Mick
dynamite.
Abel
They
was
both
dominant,
were.
and they both were. And I'm like 0-0 game. Like, someone has to score. Hopefully, it's not Pirates, but not many people could have trust in Mick Abel in that moment. But he kept going, and then we traded him away to the Twins for the pitcher that controls our back end of the bullpen.
and Bader, right? Wasn't he?
No, that was a.
Oh, that was the
it
other
was
one?
it was confusing because of course every year at the deadline they feel like they only it feels like they only trade with one team, but it's at 2 different times during the day, so you don't exactly know what player came over for what player. I think it was Abel and Rincones for Duran and some other random guy for
Okay.
for
I'll trust you.
Harrison Bader.
Yeah,
I don't
I'm
know.
not. Mr. Monero is also really good on those.
Yeah,
Like,
I know I'm gonna.
trades
I know
and-
I'm gonna hear that when I get home from Caleb because his second favorite team is the Minnesota Twins.
oh, sorry to hear that, kid.
He picked up the Twins after he watched them one year in the playoffs. He goes, they might be good. Since then, they have crashed to the point where everyone in the
Yeah.
comment sections of their Instagram
Caleb
posts are
missed
like,
their heyday when they had like Harmon Killebrew and that's a tough team.
he's got the
Rod Carew way back in the day.
He's
my
got the
day.
Nats and the Twins as his 2 other favorite teams.
At least the Nats recently won, right? Like
Yeah.
they have a World Series title.
He got on the Nats and Twins bandwagon both after they are
Oh, bandwagon. That's tough. That's tough.
going a little bit more.
Yeah, I
down
like the
slope,
Phillies
but
pitching already. Like
Duran
if they, you've got a good reliever. Alvarado will be back, right? He can just be Alvarado. You'll be helped. Wheeler hopefully will heal up. So I mean, you got
It's always a
Sanchez,
worry with that
Wheeler,
injury.
and Luzardo. Luzardo had one of his. He got 1 vote for Cy Young.
I know.
And listen, that leaves off Suarez, who had a good year too. Like,
But Suarez is not.
I know
Yeah.
it'll be tough. He probably, there's only so much money to go around. I get it, but that's why you got Painter, and that's why you have some of these other young arms.
Can we get rid of Taiwan Walker, please?
What's that?
Can we get rid of Taiwan Walker, please?
You know what? I was an anti-Taiwan guy the year before, but I got to say this year,
did too.
especially in the second half,
Yeah.
like I got to be fair, right? And he had some good games. He threw fairly well. I still, would say
Still
but
don't
if
trust
he's-
him.
Yeah, right. I wouldn't trust him in a playoff game. But for regular season games, if
Burn
you're
out the
paying him
contract.
already and he's under contract, like he's not the worst option. I know he's not exciting. Guy does have one of the fastest moves to first base, though.
Yeah.
In the entire league. It's amazing how big he can turn that body and get the ball so quickly to first base. I mean, it's lightning, his move. So I did. I don't want to say hate on him on air. That's terrible. I'm not supposed to hate anything. But I did badmouth him for a long time. But in the second half of the season, I got to say he was pretty consistent overall. Like he wasn't bad. He wasn't as bad as people.
Shined up. But the difference is when you have this elite level at the top, and you go down to this decent level, but not as elite. You've got Sanchez up there. You got Wheeler for most of this year was up there. You got Luzardo pitching at this insane level until he blew up against the Brewers and had that rough 2 or 3 game stretch where he might have been
but
tipping.
he was money in the playoffs, and that's all that matters.
And then he
right?
rounded back
Wheeler
around.
is money in the playoffs, and you hope to get him back next year.
Sanchez
and Luzardo proved he was money, and Sanchez threw well. So if they're your 3 guys going into the playoffs, knock on wood. That's no team really wants to see those 3. Like those
No.
guys, Luzardo proved his mettle, man. He was lights out. I didn't like when they took him out in that playoff game when I don't believe he hadn't given up an actual run yet. He had some runners on base and he was struggling, but it's like Wheeler a couple years before and they took him out.
The Astros game.
Yep. Like let him give it at least one up. This guy has gotten you this far. Let the starting pitcher give up at least one run before you take him out. Like, you got to trust these guys once in a while. And Wheeler didn't like that when he was taken out of the game by Topper. And there's no point. Luzardo must have been furious inside.
Yeah. Really thinking about the pitching staff for a second. Now that I think about it, you have Wheeler 1, Sanchez 2. They're both great pitchers.
Yep.
Luzardo. Then you have Aaron Nola, who is going to be here.
Had a rough year. Boy.
Had a rough year, but he's that 1 year on, 1 year off. Hopefully he gets back to being on. And then you have Taijuan Walker. That's your 5 starters.
Well, you hope Painter
for now.
comes up too,
or
right?
Painter comes up and they go to 6. But I don't know if you have to sign anyone else. Or I don't know if they have to. I wouldn't be shocked if they do sign someone else though.
Nah, not for the beginning of the season. As the season plays out before the trade deadline, do you need a middle reliever? Do you need like the 8th inning guy, which I hope Luzardo becomes again? I think arms wise, especially if these young guys, if Painter comes up like everybody says, how good he is.
Yeah, struggled last year coming back from the injury.
Yeah, but listen, he's one of the gems of the minor leagues for your minor league system. So you got to give him a chance. You got to give him a chance to start throwing against these pros. And what's the harm? It's a regular season. They're going to make the playoffs. Barring any monster injury, there's enough talent on that team to make the playoffs.
Each and every year they've been getting incrementally better in the regular season than incrementally worse when they leave in the postseason.
Right, they won a lot of right. That's not what's important. It's getting hot before the postseason, being healthy. Unfortunately, they lost Turner. They lost
Turner.
Alvarado. They lost Alvarado
to the suspension.
Suspension that hurt. So not having him because Robertson, he's a nice guy. He's a nice guy. He's ineffective the last couple of years. It's just
we keep bringing
shocking
him back.
How many times they pulled him out of there.
We keep bringing him back. It's like the 3rd time he runs with this team in the 4 years of playoffs.
So there were some guys that got some innings that Alvarado doesn't make that mistake. And hopefully learn from it. And he's back, and he's back with like a vengeance. Hopefully he comes back with an inner anger, like I'm going to prove myself. I don't need those PEDs to throw 99 miles an hour and throw a 101 mile an hour slider past you. So I hope that's the attitude he comes with.
Yeah. So final kind of thing here. They have the infield, outfield. It's all kind of set. I think this is all kind of more when people say you want to change something with the team, and they're been they're 96 wins or whatever they ended with last year, there's not that much to change. Like when they say to change, like talent-wise, the only options there are the 2 outfield spots. And then I did see an article about Bryson Stott and different guys, but one of the main guys in that quad is JT Realmuto, the catcher, who is not under contract. Will get I saw something from I think it was Matt Gelb or something saying that he looks like he will get somewhere between a 3 or 4 year contract offer from someone with a decent amount of money. Would you spend the money on JT Realmuto?
I would spend the money if it's a 2-year deal and just pay him more. I know that all players and agents want the longer deal and the more total money, but rather than a 3-year, let's say $45 million deal, I would like a 2-year, maybe $36 million deal. Like give him a little bit more money per year, but listen, he's a good player. He had a great 2-month run there in that second half where I think he led the league in average, for a 2-month stretch.
He was nuts for the Phils. After his terrible start is like 050 in the first 2 months, but after that he went off.
But listen, catchers are catchers, and it's just the reality of the position. It's like running backs in the NFL. Like they just wear and tear is more so on the catchers than any other position, and you have seen flashes of that. He isn't throwing as many runners out. He's not blocking as many balls.
His defense has definitely been down.
Yeah.
This was
And
down this year.
unfortunately, remind me of my backup catcher.
Marshawn.
Yeah, Marshawn,
And Stubbs,
unfortunately,
the two of them.
was not as good as people hoped he would be. His batting average was abysmal for most of the year. He had a couple clutch hits. I'll give him that.
I think he had one game he had 2 home runs in. It was clutch and big moment.
When he did have some hits in big moments, but overall, he was a hitting disappointment, and because of that, there was just periods where they felt like they got to play JT because they needed a little bit more bat, and because Marshawn wasn't supplying it. So if they bring JT back, which I would like, I think he's great for the clubhouse. I think he's still a solid catcher. He's not one of the elite catchers anymore, but he's a solid catcher. But they need to do something about a new backup. Like, they got to find either a good veteran or they got to find someone young who's just dynamite at either hitting or defense. Like, something big. Like, wouldn't it be nice to have a balance? But unfortunately, Marshawn, I wanted him to badly because I thought the year before I liked his defense.
His defense was good the year before.
Yeah, it was great. But I gotta. I gotta say it like it is, and he just was not very strong offense. I mean, he was abysmal offensively. I think he hit like 182 for the year.
It was bad. His season was not up to par. But the Phils. The good thing is, going into the offseason, they're a very good team. I think they need to make changes in certain areas. They can't roll the same team back, but it also is they are a good team at the core. And it's not like you're going off seeing like, okay, well, you stink and you stink and you stink and you stink and going down the whole line. There's a lot of good talent still on this baseball team, which is good.
And pitching is definitely the strength right now, right?
Yeah.
Starting pitching and with
back end of the bullpen.
Yeah,
with Strom and
Duran.
Duran.
Back end with that trade, that is a strength too. So, and the lineup is just it goes on its runs. But I think a lot of baseball teams have that same issue. They go on its runs.
The Dodgers
but
weren't
you
the
need to
best
find some guys.
team.
Just need to find some guys who are a little more consistent, are a little smarter base running, and you can't be so streaky. There's again, you can't start off a year and have these. Our boy Castellanos, like there was that period after when they finally started to sit him down, where I think he was like 1 for 31. You just can't go into those deep.
And the whole lineup goes. They have the problem where the whole lineup goes down on those deep runs because they're all very streaky.
And you can do that. It's just that the week before the playoffs, you got to start getting hot again. Like you can't do that in the playoffs.
Which was interesting. In the month of September, they were one of the hottest teams in baseball. But as they got to the end of the month, they played the Dodgers, they played the Diamondbacks, and they went home and they played this two series, one against the Twins, one against the Marlins. And they did not look great in that series. They didn't look offensive, powerful in those final 2 series at home, and it rolled over to not being this offensive powerhouse. Now the Dodgers have some of the best pitching staff I've seen in a long time. Yamamoto is a unbelievable pitcher, and they ran into quite the buzzsaw with Ohtani and.
Oh, they were right there, right? They were right there in that series. Just a couple key offensive moments. They just come through clutch. And Schwarber. Let's be real. Schwarber was not a big factor in that series.
Harper
that
wasn't
one
either.
Game where they hit all those home runs and they all brought their averages up for the series, but
the top 3, Harper, Turner.
They all struggled, and Schwarber especially struggled. Outside of that one game where he had the home runs, but you just have to be a little more consistent. You got to put your bat on the ball a little bit more. You got to find ways to scratch out runs, and they just couldn't do that. There were a couple times it's so frustrating, right? They don't execute bunts. They don't run the bases well. And they give away some outs that outs are precious. You only get 27 of them. And with pitchers today, you can almost probably guarantee another team that they're going to get 10 strikeouts in a game. It's like, people are going to strike out because they're trying to hit a home run. So you're going to get 10 strikeouts. So those other 17 at outs, you got to move runners. You got to put people, you got to create havoc on the defense. You got to put the ball in play and make things happen. And some of those games where they have 15, 16 strikeouts and then they don't execute a bunt, or they get caught trying to get an extra base, trying to stretch a double into a triple with 2 outs. It's maddening. But all that being said, I feel like I said a lot of negative things. There's a lot of positive things. I mean, they won a lot of regular season games. They went further in the playoffs than they did last year, so that was nice. And they were right there. Like that series against the Dodgers, they were there.
They made the same run in the playoffs. They lost in the same series.
Wait a minute. Last year they lost.
Last year they played
right away, right?
Yes, and we did the same thing this year. We lost the first series.
Years mixed up.
Yeah, we lost the Dodgers series. We lost the Mets series. The two of them both after getting a bye, and both.
Oh,
yeah. Things slowly gone backwards. So
had a senior moment there.
Well, with that being said, as I hear raindrops falling outside, I think we're gonna wrap this one up. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, again, thank you for having me. This is fun.
On this podcast.
My mom always said I had a face made for radio.
I just got that. Well, thank you for joining us. Next week, I don't know about next week because it's getting back to Thanksgiving. So no matter what, I'll be back with you for another one of these episodes on the 2nd, Tuesday the 2nd, with Mr. Molelli, my 8th grade history teacher, and now teaches here at the high school. And then we'll see what happens from there. So with that being said, I am Kevin Flannery alongside Mr. Culp here, signing off.
Have a great day, everybody.